Would help if I undid my thing. Oh, cool. I will move those over here.
Yeah, hi everybody. Yep, we're getting everything sorted right now. And then I'm going to pull down the stream starting Suicide in just a couple seconds here, making sure Paranor is ready to go, I'm ready to go, all that fun stuff.
I think I'm good to go.
I'm good too. All right, I will pull down the sign. You guys ready for Paranor's face reveal?
I tell you, it's hideous.
I can hear Paranor. There you go, Veronica. All right, here we go. Bam! Yeah. There he is!
Let's get rid of George. George can go away.
Bye, George.
I gotta remember where the camera is. Hi.
Let's see. I think I might flip. Hold on. I might flip this.
Oh no, I got green mode.
All right, let me flip horizontal. Oh wait, that's not what I'm on. Oops. Okay, I want maybe this one. Transform. Daisy, there we go. Perfect. What a troll. I know, right, Trucker Dave?
Hey, some of the best mods make the best the best
The best trolls make the best mods. Best mods make the best trolls. Words are hard.
They can be at times, yes. So yes, everybody, I am this strange behind the camera, not just behind the scenes.
Speech 100. Exactly. Hi, Trinus. Welcome on in.
I keep one eye on you and one eye where the camera is.
We have you perfectly centered now, so you're good. You could like do a whole dance and it'd be great. Like you have plenty of room now. Just like that. Okay, so what we're doing, everybody, today is Paranor and I are going to have a discussion about what makes a good Twitch moderator. And this moderation kind of stuff we're going to be talking about will probably also extend on into a lot of the things that we deal with everyday moderation. So even Discord or even on a Minecraft server, for instance, that's where my area of expertise lies. So if you have any questions or you have any advice, feel free to throw that in there at any time. And we will get to it and acknowledge it. So if you have any, either Dish is loud or Paranor is quiet. I'm always loud. I'm very loud. And then I
be a little quiet.
Yeah, I got Paranor turned up now. So let us know how that volume is. Hi, Frog.
Now I can go up a little bit as well.
Yeah, here we go. Let's see.
I'll try to project a little more as well.
And then I can also turn up yours volume because I have everybody turned down really low. I'm going to put you like here. All right, try that out.
Okay, testing.
All right, we made it work. There you go. All right, awesome.
I should have broken into song. Missed opportunity.
My question is, what mod pack was Pixel Riffs using with the bees? Boz said that.
Ban that person. Ban that person right now.
Did we just not have a discussion about some of the best? Our mods are our #1 trolls. Trucker Dave, that was a yoke.
Very scrambled yolk.
Bees 99. Okay, so I sent out a link not too long ago with to all of our streamers in the 8-bit community to see if anybody would respond. I always try to send these things out whenever we're going to be doing kind of a streamer chat, kind of Twitch deal. And we got a couple responses. If you are in chat right now and you want to fill this out, it's completely anonymous. I'll post the link in chat. Let's see. So if we get any fresh feedback during this, by all means, you're more than welcome to fill it out. That would be very helpful for us and help leading kind of where we go and what we respond to. And as I usually say, ask us questions, ask us all the questions. Even if it's just generally about Twitch or really anything along those lines, we'll do our best to answer them. And if we can't give you the answer now, we will help you find the answer. Yes.
I have not a question, but a statement. The Trucker Dave, I have a homeopathic cure for gullibility if you'd like some. Okay.
So let's see. So today we got a couple responses. So let's kind of start with that. So right now, Paranor, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit? What are you a streamer? I'm gonna ask you a whole bunch of questions. Are you a streamer? Are you a moderator? How many streams do you moderate in? If you do moderate, kind of stuff like that. Lead us into that discussion right there.
Sure. I am both. I am both performer and content creator on Twitch and a moderator for dedicated 10 channels.
Wow.
Undedicated, more like 14, 15. And that's when, when I'm around.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, but yeah, thankfully some of them are on hiatus right at the moment. So that stops next month. Sciencey stuff over on YouTube.
Oh, I forgot about that.
As well as Twitch. So if I could mention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, by all means.
Oh, Cosmo Quest X here on Twitch, run by PhD. Astronomy Cast, which is an award-winning podcast with Fraser Kane, who is the publisher of Universe Today. And they tag team to do science news and science discussion on every topic, mostly to do with space, but everything does to do with space because we're all stardust.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. It's a passion.
Yeah, I was going to say, I remember you updating me on all of the different launches and when they were delayed not too long ago.
Oh, bloody hell, yeah. And they proved today that a big water tower can fly, given enough thrust.
No.
Paranor bingo.
Get timed out in all 14 channels.
But yeah, no, I do both. It's good to, and this is kind of how I was trained in theater, is to know both sides, whether you do it or not. I found that I am equally passionate about both sides. So I'm an entertainer as well as a technician, as it were. Because that's really what modding is herding cats.
Let's see, Paranor has a face. He does have a face.
Yeah. And you missed it, Vela, because I had George up here.
Yep. Hi, George.
He has his own banana and a gripper. That's all I'm saying. But it also makes a great prop because I can honestly say, without reservation, drum roll please, because most of you better have guessed it, I can spank my monkey on camera. All right, I'll behave.
Matt says he's bi-twitchical. Bi-twitchical? Bi-twitchical.
Bi-twitchical?
Okay. All right.
I like that.
Oh, man. I mean, of course. I mean, I don't think there could have been a real conversation here unless there were dirty jokes. So, I mean, that's fine.
Try to keep it. We're trying to be serious here.
So, how do you keep track of all the channels that you mod?
Links, bookmarks, right? Direct channel links. And as well as I have direct channel links to the Nightbot command list and any other pertinent pages. Like for Pixel Riffs, I have the survival guide up. Just so if he mentioned something that was done in a video, boom, I've got it there in quick search. So I've been doing it a little less lately. It's been busy. So there's some other mods who and other people in the chat who are quite helpful. So good community.
So what about with your space related moderation?
There, it's a bit of a different story because, unfortunately, in today's workings,
Mm-hmm.
I think is the best word, there's a lot of trolls, specifically anti-science, and a lot of misogynistic people. Not like we don't have those here on Twitch, but um, it can get really nasty.
Mm-hmm.
There is a mess. Um, I would actually say women in science get worse treatment than female streamers,
Mm-hmm.
and that's saying something.
Well, I mean, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Women in
Yeah.
science haven't always been like, yeah.
No, exactly. But they're starting to be recognized. What is her name? I've got to look it up. I'm sorry.
While you're looking that up, though, I literally just saw something about this today on Twitter where someone was talking about there was a science wall of fame either at a university in a university lecture hall or in some kind of lab, and it was just covered in old white men. And so that was something I saw today. I was like, you literally just brought it up.
Exactly. Oh, there's a big push.
Hi, Veronica. Emily Lakdawala.
Oh, Emily is marvelous. I follow Twitter. Dr. Pamela Gay, who runs CosmoQuest X here on Twitch, and she interviewed her on one of the shows. It gets confusing. There's so many of them, but Emily is marvelous. She wrote a beautiful book on curiosity. Thank you for your service. But yeah. I'm running off track. The train, oh no, it skipped. But we were just finished. Actually, we just finished phase 1, and this is part of what CosmoQuest does because it's citizen science, and this is why I mod for her, as well as Dr. Gay being a beautiful person. We just finished mapping the asteroid Bennu, and it surprised the shit out of everybody because they were expecting kind of smooth, but it looks like an ejection from a Vogon constructor fleet after they chewed up some planets. Yes, I mean big rocks, little rocks. The thing farts rocks. Citizen science made this possible, and it's for the Osiris-Rex mission, which is going to touch down and kiss and bring a sample return home so we can study it a bit better. And it's you got to think about it like this too. Hello, motorcycle. It's early information gathering for future asteroid mining. This is useful information to be able to do that in the future, which we really have to, because we got to stop ruining this planet.
I suppose it's helpful already being super passionate about that, and then you are moderating a stream where people are going to have questions all the time, so you can do a lot of almost vetting of the questions that actually get through that need to be answered by someone else versus what you can answer yourself.
Exactly, and that's a skill in any channel, whether it be Pixelriffs, you, CosmoQuest, or any of it.
Yeah, I can color.
Sorry,
you're golden.
I thought you got asked if you could color like a coloring book. Brain squirrel. But no, it's remembering an earlier study group when you had Pixel Riffs on, he said that I was a good steward of his channel, and that, I mean, that's a compliment. Because that's the core of a good moderator, interpreting what the culture of the room the host or streamer would like.
Mm-hmm.
You don't always get it right. You don't, you work the line until you are able to answer for the streamer.
Mm-hmm.
If they get too busy, or if it's something that, comes up common. Like if anybody mentions PewDiePie, delete. What do you think of PewDiePie, delete?
I like how Vela kind of pointed out, I have a desktop notepad program where I keep frequently used commands, and I think that's super helpful.
It can be. And that's why I have Nightbot up. Because most of those do get turned into common commands. Like we just recently put in Pro and Pixel Riffs, because how do you do that, right, with a function with the game itself, like the clicking and moving items. So we've got that on its own command, and that's what you set up as well. You always need a good bot just for that information stream. It frees you up. So, and that's the reason why I've not been dropping as many links like for the specific episode, because when you get busy, you've got to have. And here's another thing with modding: you kind of have to have a hierarchy without specifying a hierarchy, right? And there's stages of roles that people can take on, and that sort of thing. Sounds a little weird, I know.
I think that's interesting. So Vela says people often lovingly put me in with Dish's crowd and holding that positive environment and that really good space, and that's an honor, really. Jason, thank you so much for that follow. So yeah, X2Bass, we're talking about moderation today, whether it be on Discords or Twitch servers. And this is another question I'm asking. I'm going to ask Chad as well. Are there any streamers out there who have a Discord and then have a specific room for their moderators where they have all of their commands listed and like expectations of their moderators? You have that?
Not quite expectations.
Okay.
I should. That's actually a good idea, just to give a general outline. But I usually have a talk with everybody that I promote to moderator. And everything is kind of fluid as well, right? So, because you can't think of everything. So the communication with your mods is key as a streamer. You got to have a back channel in some way.
Yeah. Because I've been really wanting to do that. So if we were going to put something like expectations of moderators, because most of the time when people who here is, how does everybody choose their moderators? I think that's a really good way to start. How does everybody choose their moderators? Let's see. MGS says, one of Boz's streams had a good point. If you think of the streamer as the pilot and the moderators are the air crew and the viewers are the passengers, it's not a stated hierarchy, but everyone follows it. Exactly.
Yeah. That's a great analogy, really. Yeah.
Vela says, but trusting your mods, barring incidents, is super important too. You're correct. What were you going to say, Paranor?
I don't recall. Keep going.
Okay. Sorry. Like seeing them ban someone and immediately questioning it can really destabilize that mod and make them feel like they're not allowed to do that job. And that's really interesting because I think that brings up an excellent point, right? What do you do if a moderator does something that you dislike and it requires, like, there are things that you can talk to your moderators about that you can talk to them about later. So what do you do if you notice something that you dislike right away without calling them out publicly? Would you DM them?
If it's one time, depends on what it is. Like if I catch the streaming, if I catch the context, or even modding with other mods, if like they ignored something which they should know better on, then I may question it. if it seems that they were there for it.
Mm-hmm.
Just to kind of reinforce what I, as a streamer or as a mod. Well, no. I have to speak as a streamer there, because even though there's a quote unquote hierarchy, nobody's really the boss except for the streamer.
Mm-hmm.
So you're giving your interpretation. You can discuss it with another mod, but if you're a mod, go to the streamer. If you're the streamer, go to the mod.
Mm-hmm.
But one time, if it's not a severe thing necessarily, or even potentially, if it's a big thing, go directly. If not, I'd wait to see if there was a pattern.
Okay.
Right, to see if it's behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and I noticed there was another question up there dealing with behaviors. But yeah, like I said, it's like herding cats. But that's technically the streamer, the host's job,
Mm-hmm.
for them to herd the mods, and then the mods try to herd each other
Mm-hmm.
in a way, because you're a separate family,
Mm-hmm.
and then the mods herd the audience.
Mm-hmm. That's an excellent point. I'm gonna try to read through some of these comments. Ninja Evan says, and this is, I'm assuming, referring to the separate chat, says, when I worked as a mod on a YouTuber server, we had a whole Skype for the mods admins. It was like run like a company, and honestly, it sucked. It felt like a job with a workload. So Ninja, what would you? And I'm very behind in chat, so I do apologize, everybody. What would you do to combat that? Because I feel like there is a line of communication happening in that separate chat, but what would you do to combat the work feeling of it?
You always have to keep things light.
Yeah.
Right. No judgment, unless sometimes you have to put the rule down, like you did today with the person cheating the system, right? Even mods, there are some lines which should not be crossed, or that sort of thing. But then that rarely happens. It really does, because if you do your job right, you pick good mods or potentials, and build them into what you see as potential for what
Thank you, Jason.
Want.
Mm-hmm. I kind of like, Jason brought up a good point, which kind of responds to that. He said, when I asked my moderator to be a moderator, I explained I wanted him because of what he was already doing for the community. I didn't want him to change with the new role. So essentially, rather than taking on more work, it's just a different title for the work that's already going on, so to speak.
Well, there is a little more work, but no, essentially that is right. And that's in the mod choosing process, really, is just keeping an eye out at potential. Like I've got Jejny out there as a moderator in my channel because I saw his potential in Pixel Riffs and other places and that. So, everybody's a little skittish at first, but you work into it. You take it easy, and mine's an easy streamed mod generally. So skill building, and at some point, take it elsewhere as well.
Yeah. Indy said, I hated moderating, especially with on the fence issues. So, Indy, did you end up asking the streamer to no longer be a mod? And then let's see. Vela says, what do you do as a mod? Feels an appropriate way to approach your streamer if they do something you don't deem appropriate. So this happened to me with one of my mods at one point, and I'm curious to see how everyone else would handle it. So one of your mods approached you and was like, hey, I didn't really agree with this behavior that you were doing. So in turn, rather than the streamer moderating their mods were kind of like, hey, are you sure you should be doing this? Is that kind of the situation that happened? Speaks out of turn / inappropriately challenges you. I would almost say if you're a moderator and you have an issue with your streamer, then I would talk to them off the stream.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually one thing I did want to mention at some point. And speaking of behaviors, the mods you choose, or at least I choose, and I think makes a good mod. And this is going to go with what Vela was mentioning. Issues like that is to keep your ego at the door. And I get asked, how can I easily switch between a family-friendly channel and then a place like yours, right? And that's the leaving your ego at the door. So following that rule, somebody, another mod, right, or the streamer even, breaks that,
Mm-hmm.
that's a negative.
Yeah.
And it is usually resulting in, down the line, abusive.
Mm-hmm.
If it continues.
Mm-hmm.
Communication is key, but you've got to do it without necessarily putting too much of yourself, your likes, your biases, your everything
Mm-hmm.
into the job
Mm-hmm.
that you were already doing.
Mm-hmm. I always say, like, try to be genuine, but also I think you bring up an excellent point, right? Where if you're
genuine, definitely
genuine, open, genuine communication, but also, like, if you're watching a stream and you become a moderator for that streamer, and then the streamer does actions you necessarily don't agree with, my question would be then, how long have you actually been watching that streamer?
Exactly.
And, like, there are some times where, like, maybe you, like, I feel like some streamers occasionally will do stuff out of character, but very rarely. Like, we're very scripted.
No, genuine.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need a script when you're genuine.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's why I suggest streamers take improv classes.
Oh, yeah.
It helps you flow, right? The thing is, your own bounce, the bounce that you're doing with improv, the regular bounce with improv is a person or an object, usually a person. It can be multiple, we'll just stick to two. So the audience is your bounce in this case. You wear a mask, a modified version of yourself, but it's not far from the real.
Mm-hmm.
There's bars up for very good reasons. And that's partially why I don't use a webcam. That's a different story.
Well, I think
yes,
what I was when I said scripted. No, you're golden. I think when I said scripted, I meant when you say, I always say be your genuine self when you're streaming. But it's very rare for us to act out of character because this person that we're streaming as is our genuine self, and therefore we're very predictable. In that sense, if you've been in a streamer's chat long enough to the point where you've been asked to become a mod or you've been moderating, their behavior really shouldn't surprise you too much anymore. Like, people will always surprise you, but it's going to be very rare that somebody's going to do something very out of character for their stream.
Exactly.
Yep. I'm ready. Yep, I host the stream, and then I have quite a few guests from the Twitch community coming in. So Paranor here is one of my mods. He's moderating, what, did you say 14 to 15 streams total?
I did. Yeah.
Streamers have routines for sure. You're right, Jason. That's what I always think. Like, everybody, for instance, when they follow, every streamer has something different that they say when people follow, and kind of, we have these scripts that we fall back on. And we're like,
stripping strips.
Well, then we just strip.
Bam.
We just flat out take all of our clothes off. And
well, apparently that's usual for you with Taz. Just saying.
Indy says, well, people change. I've seen it with a few streamers, and I had friends for over 20 years. That's true. People do change, and you're not gonna be wrong there, but if it is, I'm like Jason pointed this out, definitely if you have an issue with the person you're moderating for and they're changing in a way you don't like, talk to them in a DM. You're their moderator because, as Vela brought up, they trust you and they value your feedback. And in return, I also value feedback from my moderators. So if I were to get a message from Vela or Paranor or Mel's or Boz or Chris or anybody and they were like, hey, so I noticed when you said this thing, it made other people uncomfortable. And like, I might not have noticed. I try to be self-aware, and I'm pretty sure all streamers try to be self-aware of what they're saying and how it affects chat, because that's how we improve. Feedback is always valued. Just be respectful and be professional about it.
Exactly. Don't be judgy.
Don't be judgy. Or just understand that all streamers are looking to improve themselves in their stream. Always.
Exactly. And there's always reasons for a bad mood if that's what it is, but you got to verify if it's a bad mood, if they're turning into a dingus. Rule number 1, don't be a dingus.
And I think this goes back to your previous point, Paranor, where you said, see if it's a repeated thing. So maybe if it happens the first time, you could be like, that's weird. And then like you were mentioning, hold on, I was not judging you. Sorry, that was Indy. Like Indy was mentioning, right? People change, and changing isn't just I do one weird thing. Changing is I started doing this weird habit and makes people very uncomfortable, and it's very out of character for me. And I feel like once it becomes a behavior, that's when it's like, hey, so I've noticed you've started doing this pretty consistently. Can you blah blah blah?
Yeah. It's kind of the start of the scientific method, actually. I put it this way. First time is an interesting incident. Second time is a pattern. Third time is confirmation. At that point, you got to jump on it and ride the shark, whatever it is.
Vel points, snap reactions happen too on accident. And I feel like that's very okay. Everybody has snap reactions to things. I know I do. And that's when, if I notice, like if I'm streaming and I notice either my moderator has a snap reaction to it. For instance, if I've made this mistake too, I think on one of Boz's streams, there was somebody in his stream talking about like, oh, give me money. And I had just come into the stream, and when I read that, I was like, who the hell is this guy? And I was just like, get out of here. You just can't come in here and just ask people for money. And then Boz was like, oh, we were joking about that. And I was like, I unbanned him, and I was like, sorry. I thought you were just asking them for money.
I've done that. I come in, and the guy's just talking smack on Jazz, and it was Fix It 412. He was streaming on the Realm of Vast, in which Wells Knight has done it. Incredible stuff, just incredible stuff. New season, anyway. And it turned out that it was his friend locally, and YouTube sucks for moderation because you can't really unban without going into the channel. Streamers going to give many, if any, mods access to their desktop, their Google desktop. So guy was mad for weeks, if not still fuming that. I apologize, but hey.
Ready? I'm just gonna
Stories.
purge your messages because I just feel like they're just judgy. This is just happening for the past 4 messages. Let's see. Bass moderators have.
I missed them. Oh well.
I've been reading them, and hey. They've just been going through and commenting on looks and then telling which one they like more. Moderators have little to no duty unless they are given one. Interesting statement. Can you expand on that? Also, modvent for a sec. You know what grinds me? People who don't listen to mods consistently. And I feel like...
Oh, yeah.
Yes. I agree. Hi, Riri.
Notice me, senpai. Notice me. Only you can answer me, senpai. You're my daddy.
And that's one of those things. I feel like I read this recently, and because I thought it was very helpful, I actually found a thing on Reddit where this person wrote a guide on how to moderate a Twitch stream. And I didn't agree with everything they said, but they brought up an excellent point where they said people are going always kind of treat each person like they're brand new and they've never been on Twitch before. And a lot of the times those people don't understand that the moderators are the people you should be listening to, and you need to be reading chat as well as waiting for the streamer to verbally acknowledge your existence.
And I'll throw in there, especially since you are thinking in the ways of your culture, where you're from.
Mm-hmm.
And some cultures are a little bit different, I'll put it that way. Not everything is universally accepted. So you will get some interesting responses, and it's a teaching moment if you can.
Mm-hmm.
But how they respond to being instructed will tell you exactly what you have to do with it.
Mm-hmm. And I had that because I'm really, really bad at that, because I'm always just like, nah, I don't have time for this, bye. And it saves me time, but it doesn't exactly help me grow. So I'm trying to be better at that.
Well, I disagree with that. Playing cat and mouse is fun at times and can make some great content, and you do make some good responses and that out of some of them. But no, don't put up with anybody's shit. I mean, in this day and age, somebody is usually within 2 comments what sort of audience member they're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And smelling trouble, don't deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't need it, because all it is cat and mouse playing around.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not the meat and potatoes. That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah. Vela says, one of my top tips, if behavior is ever questionable and you're not sure, time them out. Explain why they were timed out and then see how they react. A timeout will tell you everything you need to know about most people. And you're absolutely correct. We recently had to ban someone from my channel because they were timed out. While I was paying attention to other things, they got timed out for my channel and immediately DM'd me saying, why the heck was I timed out? And then when they came back from timeout, started saying, why the heck was I timed out? I didn't deserve that, blah, blah, blah. And in my head, I'm like, even if you were accidentally timed out, which will happen, I guarantee you, as a moderator, you will accidentally ban or time out someone that you did not mean to. And it's going to happen sometimes. And so as a moderator, if you do that, just unban them and be like, I'm sorry, I accidentally did that.
And apologize.
Always
apologize for it. Always tell them this clip. Sorry for over talking.
No, you're golden. So yeah, and that was my huge thing. Like, they just got so upset about being timed out, even accidentally, that they started harassing my moderators, Paranor, for example. They started harassing them in the DMs. And I'm just, that took me from...
Was it me that eventually banned him?
It was probably you. Yeah, that's when I was just like, no, if that person is going to, because we accidentally timed them out. They made a huge stink about it in my channel. And then I was like, hey, if you're going to continue to act like this, I'm going to time you out again because I feel like you need some time to cool down. And that's when they started messaging Paranor. And I'm like, yeah, no, get him out of here. At that point, it's just not even worth it, because that tells you a lot about that person's character.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, Jason, I accidentally banned someone on the first stream.
Oh, that always happens. It's like the Matrix. Everybody first. Remember, failure is our default. That's how you learn. Mistakes is how you learn. You learn how not to do it X number of times so you can do it right.
Mm-hmm.
Yoda, an idiot. There is no try, do or do not. Sorry, there is only try. You've tried enough to do it successfully.
Mm-hmm.
Just.
Mm-hmm. And Twitch has done a really good job of giving moderators a ton of tools to help moderate a channel.
Yes.
So, for instance, if you moderate a channel, I feel like, okay, I'm going to bring this over here so everybody can see. This is my Twitch chat right here, and I know it's flipped.
Inception.
So if I click on,
like
say, Color's name here, it'll tell me when their account was created, how long they've been following me for. Actually, here, you've been flipped, so I'm going to flip you back. Hold on. There we go. Okay. So you'll be able to see how long they've been following, when they created their profile. So a lot of people, if they've only had a profile for 30 seconds, you know it's probably a troll. What messages they've posted, how many timeouts they've had, bans, mod comments. If you're a moderator, and I have people do this in mine, or I encourage my mods to do it, if they come in and immediately ask to join the server, after reading the server join policy, I have them make a comment. And then you can permit them. This is just to purge them. So if you time them out for a second, it deletes all of their messages. Or you can ban, or you can time out for the default is 600 seconds. And you can see every message this person has ever done in your chat. So Twitch has given us so many
Big Brother
tools.
is watching you.
It really is. So when I have people come in and are like, do you know me well enough yet? And I'm like, you've posted 16 messages in my chat. You tell me. That's how we know this.
Data. All about the data. And by the way, another great thing, and this is why I said earlier, YouTube sucks for moderation.
Mm-hmm.
Is because Twitch is actually based on IRC, Internet Relay Chat, which was and still is the biggest chat network setup. So you can actually type commands.
Oh.
And that can be very quick. And you can set as much or as little timeout number you want. You can attach a message to it to make sure they are definitely aware of why they were timed out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Didn't you get a message? You missed the memo. Oh, dear, sorry. But, and with the bands, you can do that as well. So, no, but you should, boss. Just saying.
He does have a timeout. He does have a timeout. Oh, okay. So I'm going to show everybody. Oh, now I gotta
He has a sword of power.
I gotta reflip you again. All right. So everybody, so this is the Boz was timed out, and then it will say Buttermonkey timed out Boz for 600 seconds. So you can see who timed them out, when, and then the thing is, if you type in most channels, like you said, you can see why people were timed out. So if I hit timeout Boz 99, I think it went timeout Boz 99, and then I can do 1S for second, right? I'm pretty sure this is the format. It's been a really long time. And then you do a reason?
Yeah. And then a reason after the seconds, yeah.
So I just timed out Boz for 1 second, reason, example. And so then...
And he lost his sword.
Oh, he did lose his sword. I'm sorry, Boz. That was...
And I like that about Twitch, actually, because only the streamer can do that to a mod. So
now it'll tell me when
it's a temp ban, basically, of their moderation tools, which is great. And there's a bitch going cray, you put the bitch down.
Oh yeah. Oh, speaking of which, I'm gonna use that as a segue. In addition to the fact that this is why adding reasons to timeouts are important, because Boz, when you were timed out, did it tell you were timed out for 1 second, for example? So it will let Boz know why he was timed out, for how long, and then in the notes it will also tell me why he was timed out. So in the future, if I'm like, this person's been problematic, but I haven't seen him in a while, so I'm not really sure, this will tell you exactly what you need to know on whether or not they've been timed out or banned in the future.
It's a great tool. I mean, back when I was an IRC administrator, you had to sift through log files and log files, which were GZ zipped. Anyway, I've been at this a little while.
Which is great, and that's why I have you on here. Because you know a lot. Let's see. Hi, Millionaire. Okay, so Frankie's here. So I'm going to read. So I asked moderators or streamers to let me know why they've kind of banned their own mods in the future. I had to remove mods before because I asked them, have you ever had to remove someone as a moderator? If you responded yes to the previous answer, why? Riri, thank you so much for that follow.
Exactly what we were talking about earlier with behavior. Behavior shift, and either they in essence ghost you, or it's severe enough that you have to have a talking, and they react like that person that just had to be banned. In your chat, it's like, it was just full ego. They couldn't get themselves out of the way to see what the problem was because they can't accept it's them that's the problem.
Hi, Doge. I agree. And then this one says, it always takes me a while. Okay, so Chris, we'll use Chris as the example of a mod I've had to ban multiple times. We usually do the warning shot across the bow if your mod is doing something you don't really agree with. Be like, let's avoid doing that. Like, do super passive. don't call them out and then therefore lower their what word am I thinking of here? How other people perceive them in your chat.
Well, it enrages and also empowers, because then you have just created a division and there are two camps which are formed, or three camps, I should say. Some just don't give a shit. So, which is good sometimes. But yeah, there's always two sides which like to fight when stuff like that happens. Nasty is such an inadequate word for it at times.
Let's see. This one of the responses was, I think I'm going to share two responses here to that question. This person had to gave me 3 different reasons why they had to remove somebody as a mod. 1, their mod made a rape joke. 2, their mod was no longer available for streams and told me it was pointless to be one, so that's also just fine. And I say, if you're gonna be a moderator in someone's stream and you're not gonna be there all the time, if you know that you're not gonna be in someone's channel all the time, don't be surprised if you go back to their channel and you're not a mod anymore. Don't take it personally. That person's just making room for more help.
Exactly.
And then this person just mentioned what you did, had a mod straight up ghost from the community. But ultimately, if a moderator is causing more trouble than resolving it, Christian, Minnesota Taz, then they probably shouldn't be a mod.
Exactly. I agree wholeheartedly. I mean,
hi, Coco.
And like I said, sometimes it's nothing personal. It's just they need somebody who is more active. Which is odd. I always apologize to Pixel if I have to leave because he gets. He's got quite a few moderators now, which is good, and we're pretty well covered, 2 at least, which is a good thing because it gets busy.
Bye, Villa. Bass says, talking about chat rooms and cyberbullying and stuff like that. When a moderator is chosen to moderate a chat room, are the moderating duties assumed, or does the chat host explain the moderating duties separately? And what are everybody's kind of experiences with that? Paranor, go for it.
The ones I choose to mod, and it is your choice to accept an invitation. Never ask. Always be invited. Kind of like Hermitcraft. No, I will not be invited to Hermitcraft. That's anyway. Sorry, and it ran away with a squirrel. Please say again.
We were talking about, do you explain to a moderator what your expectations are, or should they already kind of know what the expectations are when they become mod?
A bit of both, right? You define the barriers or you should. Unless they've shown no reason to. Depends on the streamer a bit, but you will show if you read the room well enough what the streamer allows not. So that is a big part, but I also think it's good to go over the list, which is why I said it was a good idea to have something pinned of all the house rules, as it were, how the culture of the channel, how you want it run. So Because your mods are your extension as a streamer.
Mm-hmm.
It's the streamer's wishes.
Yeah, and that goes back to Color, what Color mentioned. Like at the end of the day, it is the streamer's stream, so they do have the final say. And that's been like Ash brought up a couple of points, and then Indy, we'll get to your point in a little bit because we'll allude to that a little bit. Actually, I can actually just respond now. If you're a streamer, don't go into another stream and immediately talking about your own stream unless you're good friends with that person. Like, yeah, Paranor came in or people came in and I was like, how was Paranor's stream? Blah, blah, blah. Unless you're friends with that person, don't talk about your stream. Just don't, unless a streamer asks. Yeah, it's advertising. Don't do it. It will lead to you getting banned every time. Ash said, I got modded by Lord Band-Aid because I yelled at a friend for cussing when it repeatedly said it's a PG stream. Bob Rest Time Lord also said to make me mod. And then Ash said, Chris provided zero information and did not even let me know he made me a mod. Sounds like Chris. I've just paid attention to when he shouts for a mod and what he thinks is okay and not.
The streamer defines it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you define all the lines. If you have anarchy, then you shouldn't be streaming, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
If anything goes, there's a lovely line from Doctor Who says, "Good men don't have rules." Now, explain yourself before I have to explain why I have so many rules. Right? It should be instinct.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, yeah, but you define it. Anarchy just can't work. Mm-mm. Can't work. But yeah, usually it's an easy meld, but always define your lines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Defining, and Jason says, I think the culture rules are largely understood. Like Taz said, you wouldn't invite someone you didn't know to be a mod. The more arbitrary rules should be laid out. And that's a good point. Like, exactly. The difference between, say, okay, so I'm going to use Boz, my stream, and Chris's streams. So, I always kind of describe myself as the neutral ground between the two. Boz's streams are PG, and therefore you kind of understand if anything goes beyond even a G level, that person needs to be chastised or at least let known that it's that kind of a stream. And so those tend to be pretty easy to moderate because you're like, this is inappropriate, get it out of here. My streams get a little bit weirder because there's some weird middle ground spaces, and just my own personal biases that I don't like to have in chat. And then you have Chris's stream, which is very close to anarchy. He does not get a lot of trolls, but there have been times where I've had to physically leave this office, walk to the room, point to a name on his computer screen and go, is this person bugging you? And he was like, yeah. And so then I went and banned them. So it's like, feel your streamer out. You'll know when they're getting uncomfortable, and usually I'll give people a warning shot, and I know all of you have seen it before, like, hey, your comments are making me a little uncomfortable. I'm just gonna erase them for now. So, and then if they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, then I'm like, sweet. If they continue, then I'm like, get them out of here.
Exactly. Listen to the voice of the streamer. Not the face is important too. But if no webcam, you gotta listen. But no, you should be able to know, as you said, when the streamer isn't really happy with what's going on. By a mod even. So that's how you read where the rules are. You listen for frustration in the streamer. You listen for a lead-in even. To set up for a command, right? I usually know when who I'm streaming is going to want a certain command because of the way they're speaking. They're building up to a certain aspect.
And I think that goes with that speaks directly to what Trucker Dave was discussing before, because he's like, Paranor's like psychic. the second somebody leads into something, he's already there with the command. And I'm like, that's because he's paying attention to what that person says. And then in his little brain cache, he's like, this sentence usually leads to this. Let me just get this out of the way.
I described myself well. Madman box. I mean, my brain is everywhere at once and focused in at the task. Usually, I'm human, not Gallifreyan, to say. But yeah, it's just listening and then patterns, but it's patterns of language, not streamer necessarily. But you will pick up on those as well.
Yeah. I think
if you're paying attention.
Yeah. If you're paying attention, I think is a great point. Just keep an eye out. You know your streamer better than most people in that chat. So you will be able to at least understand when they're starting to feel uncomfortable, like their voice might drop, or they might be a little bit sharper, or maybe even just a little bit shorter with that person than they would be with anyone else. Color pointed out something that I'm really glad you brought up, Color, because I completely agree it can be confusing. Sometimes it's confusing to me. Sometimes it's watching certain behaviors in streams I frequent when someone is pushing what I've seen as unacceptable behavior and no one does anything. Then later on you learn that person is an old friend and has more leeway or something along that vein. I get it as a viewer, but as a mod, I think that would be confusing.
It can be. In essence, you're trolling the streamer, right? I do it occasionally, and I've like with Pixel Rifts, I've pushed that family-friendly edge of time, and he just goes Paranor, wagging the finger, but it's not. It's in a good sense, a positive way, right? Like, don't do that, but very, very good, or I'll accept that. But so I mean, it's good because it can keep the whole atmosphere of everybody, including the streamer, the whole bubble of it, in a mood that promotes a good stream, right? As speaking as the theater person, when you're on stage, you draw off your audience. It's not giving you an energy, but you're hearing their reactions and their joys and their anguish and your cries and giggles and everything, and you're hearing their breath collectively. And if they're supposed to portray the right emotion at the right time in the story, that's like discovering something new. It's validation, data accepted, it's valid, and it's an excitement. And again, madman without a blue box. Learning, just experiencing the journey is exhilarating for me. So I'm not sure if I went off topic there.
I was just letting you go, and you're being very poetic and beautiful, so I was just like, you go. But I also want to bring up about the old friend thing. If you are a moderator, if I have an old friend who comes in and gets temporary banned, for instance, Coconut Boy. Coconut Boy was started out as a troll in my chat, but now we're friends. But Coconut Boy, you are still a troll. So if I have a brand new moderator who's coming in, I have a brand new moderator who comes in, and Coconut Boy's been taking a hiatus and then comes back and like says something inappropriate, but not pushing the envelope, but not going over the line, and my moderator bans them. Coconut Boy knows that I know that they're a troll. And so I've had even Chris be banned. I've had other people, but if they're your friends and you're like, hey, my mods were just looking out for me, your friends will never be upset about getting temporarily banned. If you're like, oh, they're an old friend, it happens. I appreciate you doing your job and protecting me 100%. That's awesome, but we can unban this guy.
Yeah. Back them up, but also correct for the context, because your mods are missing context.
And that was exactly like with the person in Boz's stream who asking for money, right? I did not have the context. I banned Boss was like, no, they're fine. And I'm like, okay, cool. You're back in. I was just,
Nope.
standing up for my boy.
And that goes back to, a little something about, when I said usually the first or second comment, exactly what they're here for. There's no context to begin with, so you can make a snap judgment. But if you walk in on something, hold back. Get a read of the room before. The Expanse has a great line. Don't go too fast into the room. You got to read it first. Love that show. Coming back to.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Amazon saved it. They get the physics mostly right. And it's great drama and great sci-fi space battle. Oh.
Nerd.
Nerd.
Let's see. If someone's being cheeky, I usually check first if they're mod or VIP, which is a really good way to start, right? Check to see if... Oh yeah, if you're a moderator, click on their name. See if they've posted over 100 messages. Then they're probably more likely to be an acceptable cheeky than if they have posted 2 messages ever.
Kind of like me when I arrived, I think.
Yeah? Really?
Well, you kind of accepted me real quick, just saying.
I always start accepting trolls where I'm like, oh, I see you're trolling. I'm fine with that. And then I'm like, okay, I get you're trolling. Lol, time to stop. And then you're like, okay, I'll stop. Or you're like, no, I'm going to keep pushing the envelope. And I'm like, bye. But I think it's clear communication, genuine communication. I never get mad at a moderator for banning someone because I trust all of you to have my best interests in mind every time.
The mod has their reason. It may be invalid, but it's a valid reason to them. So, work it out. Communication. Context is key.
And that's the same thing though, Ninja, right? You're a troll. But it's important not to be too much of a troll, especially if you notice your streamer is starting to get flustered or maybe has other trolls. Because sometimes if there is an actual troll in chat, I don't want my mods to also be trolls because that will only fuel it. And so in which case I'll ask people to tone it down because I want them to role model appropriate behavior in this instance.
Exactly.
So for instance, if I have somebody come in and say something very appropriate or something like that, I ask my mods to just ban them and then we ignore their existence. And then
like today.
Yeah, like today. That happened today. And I was like, okay, sounds good. Now let's just move on from this and not really talk about it anymore. And my moderators do a fantastic job of that. We just move on. We just pretend it didn't happen, a little blip, and then we go. But yes, let's see. The eyebrow waggle. Ash says, but I don't go for a ban unless I'm sure. So do you start out with a timeout? Because I know Chris usually encourages timeout. Ash. Let's see. Des says, I think I'm getting too old to appreciate trolling. I noticed my tolerance level for nonsense has dropped a lot the last few years.
I have a very low tolerance for certain things, right? I will ban anybody who calls Pixel Rift's daddy.
Oh.
I don't care what culture you're on. That just no, sounds wrong.
I hate that. I hate the word daddy. Except unless it's Goldblum saying it, in which case that's fine.
Spicy daddy.
Spicy daddy. Let's see. So, RO2 says, been lurking for a while. What do you two think of non-mods trying to mod?
I like it. I mean, that's how you get your potential new mods. People who want to take a part in the community, not just be the community, and do it in a way which you would have it done. So, there is sometimes some requested moderation, I would say. because there's also overuse of commands sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to space them out depending on how long a stream usually is.
Mm-hmm.
Heavier at the front, then slowly space out, and then rarely until you get to the end. And then spam. Uh, and it's run like I moderate with that sort of thing, commands in that, like a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which is why I spoke of the setup that the streamer can do at times, and boom, there with the command.
Mm-hmm.
You know, commands are your advertisements as well as your little inside jokes. I love it when people help out. And if they take any little critiques,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because that shows they're willing to learn and also not putting their self
Mm-hmm.
before the channel.
Mm-hmm.
And that's ego at the door.
Mm-hmm. There are certain lines that I try to draw between moderators and non-moderators and general moderation. And because I have a ton of people who are in my chat who know all of the commands. And whenever somebody comes in and asks a question, they're there and they're like, oh, here, this is what it is. So like you said, like they know the commands to use and how to respond to people's questions. And some people do a fantastic job of that. And it is very appreciated. But then it comes to the point where there is a line, I think, between helping a streamer facilitate a positive experience and trying to bring down a hammer that isn't yours. So either responding negatively to people's comments, rather like, or trying to call people out or be very confrontational. Although I appreciate if I miss something and everybody's like, hey, that comment up there was a little inappropriate. I appreciate that, but I do not appreciate people like, well, you're a jerk. and like fueling the fire, like that comes off as you're helping or you're trying to help, but possibly not in the most positive way.
You have an alternative agenda at play.
Yes, thank you. Exactly.
That's how I put it. Right. There, you know, in your example, that's white knight. You know, white knight is self-righteous. It's their moral code that they are imposing on the woman in this case.
Mm-hmm.
You know, white knighting that she may not want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
so,
RO2, you did something along those lines today, right? Where we actually had someone come in and say something that was rude. And either I didn't notice it right away, or I usually give my moderators some time to step in before I just delete a message. If I see something that's really bad, if I don't see something that's really bad, usually they get to it before I do. But sometimes things slip through the cracks. And so RO2 was trying to bring attention to it and was like, hey, I was just responding to it so that people would see it and do something about it, which that's understandable.
Hey, that's how I became mod in Pixel Rift's chat.
Mm-hmm.
That's the honest truth. He had no other mods, still small, and I made him notice something in the chat, which was extremely against, definitely not family friendly, and he was kind of PG at the time. And he dealt with it, and then right after that, boom, there's my origin story.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You're being respectful about it.
Exactly. And I knew that he was the only with the power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
And I think that's nice. What were you saying?
Because you have to think of the y'all if you're a mod, and I'm always mod, really, as well as troll. That.
The banhammer, nice ninja. I think it's and this I think is a really good point to think of when you're trying to step in and help with someone's stream. For instance, if there isn't a moderator there, or if because sometimes like our moderators step out and they lurk sometimes, and people like Ash, you were talking about how you're like, you know what, I just have a stream on, and when he shouts for me, he'll say something, and blah blah blah. And so sometimes moderators lurk, and that's very okay. Like, we don't expect our moderators to be on and watching the every second of our stream. It would be appreciated, but that's the reason why some streamers have multiple mods. So we can give our mods that wiggle room to not have to constantly exist and make it, like you said, Ninja, like a job.
Yeah, exactly. If your bird get to, it's a job,
Mm-hmm.
and you're supposed to have fun. I look at it as a duty,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not just a responsibility, but a duty, because I choose who I say yes to.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Doge says, I'm a mod in someone's stream, and we had one coincidence that one guy came in and said, wow, you suck, you should stop streaming, etc. We just timed him out, but he always came back, so we perma-banned him, and he made a new account. And it just went on and on and on. That would be really annoying.
Mm-hmm. They do get annoying. I had to actually ban my ISP at the time on the IRC network.
Oh, really?
So just because of one kid. Then his father called. I said, I can send you a copy of the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll keep track of what my son's doing.
There you go.
So.
Let's see.
Oh, yeah, because he couldn't get on. Right, none of them, because I did a global ban, not just a server-specific ban.
Mm-hmm.
So, nope. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
We even had Nick serve, so.
Let's see. Ninja says, how hard should mods come down on backseaters?
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, slap them with a hockey stick if they refuse.
Mm-hmm.
Basically. Time them out as the first offense. Depends on how rude they're being with it. Will depend on 1 or 2 rebukes. You have to read it at the time, right? The type of words that somebody uses, it's either going to be right from the start.
Mm-hmm.
As well as positive, and there can be over positive,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's why I say I ban people who call Pixel Rift daddy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not a negative term necessarily, but it sure has a lot of interesting connotations.
Well, and you just don't open with that. You don't walk into a stream. It's just, you just don't do that. It's like, you don't come in.
It's rude.
it's weird. Like there is endearing weird, and there is, oh, I get you're kind of quirky, and then there's just weird that crosses a line where you don't know this person, but you're just gonna go there right away.
Exactly. It's an attempt of ownership.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's not pushing the boundary. That's jumping over.
Ninja, I also think when for instance, people have been better about backseating recently, but when I was playing Dark Souls, there were quite a few backseaters who would try to come in, but then I actually had a command called !blind, so people knew I was doing a blind playthrough, and so we could just type in !blind and be like, hey, the Hot Dish has never played this game before, and therefore could you please keep any tips, tricks, hints, hacks to yourself. And then so what my mods could do, and even members of the community could just type !blind if somebody came in. My moderators would delete the message if they saw it. And just start with there. And then just like you said, start with a warning. I do this, and we even do this on the Minecraft server. We have a hierarchy of how long people are temp banned for until they are permabanned. And always, always, always let them dig their own graves. And that way, people will respect you so much more if you give every single person, like, if you give them a chance.
Give them a chance to hang their shovel up. Exactly.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun, Cat Lad. But, like, I've done that before. We recently had to permaban someone from the Minecraft server because I had warned them verbally during the day, and I was like, hey, this is inappropriate. I don't like this. I need you to stop if you continue to do this. So I started with that, and then I went to the ultimatum. If you continue to do this, there will be further action, more harsh. And then boom, it ended up being a 3-day temporary ban. Because you give them the chance to dig their own grave. And that way, not only it sets an example for everyone else saying, hey, if I do something wrong, 99.999% of the time, it will never be for no reason. You will never have a person come back to you and say, I was banned for no reason. And you're like, actually, this moderator warned you about 3 or 4 times to stop doing what you were doing, and you continued. Even 3 or 4 is a little too much in my opinion, but everybody's different. So give them the chance. Give them the chance. Give them a warning. Some people will apologize. Some people will not. That's how you know.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Because they just don't care. Right. And part of the trust in the moderators is reminding every once in a while, listen to the mods out there, because they in essence are a proxy of your voice.
Oh yeah, simple authority
So.
backseating does refer to a backseat player. Yes. I have a very strict line in mind where if I don't know you and you come into my chat immediately and start trying to micromanage how I'm playing a game, I usually will say, let me play my own game, not yours. And then my moderators will kind of be like, oh, this person is overstepping their bounds. I also try to be very clear in my communication because backseaters are inevitable. They're gonna happen.
And it could be a kid. You know, not really supposed to mention about, under 13 being around, but it happens. And it just, you got to give them a chance. You got to start with a teaching moment, unless you know, because of that they're not here to be taught.
And I always try to look at them like backseaters are essentially either A, trying to flex with their own personal knowledge, or they're coming from a place of genuinely wanting to help you, which is a good place, a positive place. But you
Exactly.
so I try not to react too negatively, and there have been people who've had to leave my channel because they got upset because I told them they were backseating, and they're like, I was just trying to help, and I'm like, I didn't ask. Don't go into somebody's channel and give them any advice unless they specifically ask for it. Or go in and be like, request. Yes, exactly, Paranor. Ask, be like, would you mind if I helped you out with this?
Permission. Sorry, lag.
Yeah, no, that's exactly perfect way to look at it. Let's see. Simple says, would you mind checking out my original question, backseat moderating? I still think it's a bit of a fine line. Where does helping or pointing things out end, and where does it become annoying or overstepping? Paranor, you moderate a ton of channels. Why don't you take this one?
I'll refer back to the last topic, backseat gaming. If you're doing it with an air of authority, that's when you're not helping. Right. You're doing it for you. So sometimes you do have to talk to somebody who's genuinely helpful, or seems to be. And that's when you really realize, like with the guy you had to ban there, how they're going to take things and if there's a problem or not. So if there's too much, nobody's beyond rebuke, not even myself. But you have to set hard limits in some areas, and you've got to pretty much do it across the board, friend or not, or unknown or known. Leniency is always a little bit, but on the known, but the unknown you can't.
Exactly. Des said, both Des and Color made mentions of tone, right? And you were talking about tone of authority kind of deal. And that goes along the lines of you having somebody come into your channel and say, both of you bring up very excellent examples of, you can do it this way, right? Like, that's not helpful. That's not along the lines of me saying, ask a question. No, you're telling me what to do and then insulting me if I don't know what to do and making me feel embarrassed for not knowing it because you make it seem like everybody should know this. And that's just like never the right way to do it.
I even apologize for my pedantic with you when you're setting up the sheep farm. I was off yesterday, but anyway, yeah, it would. I mean, it's just a dingus move. You come in self-righteous, not a feeling of superiority, and it's in your wording. You know, if you request, then you're asking permission. And if you gracefully bow out, then you made a friend.
Thanks, Simple. Exactly. We gracefully bow out if we're like, hey, I was trying to help here. I'm not here to prove myself in this situation where literally nobody was challenging me.
Dick wagging.
Exactly. It's yes, 100%. Are you bringing out the banana? There it is. Simple Authority says, write the alternative agenda. Trying to one-up somebody is not cool. Exactly. However, for example, if the chat rules say keep it family friendly and someone says something outside of that limit, I typically just send a reminder. Oh, exactly. Hey, this is a family friendly stream. Exactly. Just delete the message, remind them, and then move on. But after that, I just stop. If they continue, I try to get the streamer's attention, but I don't pretend that they have the ability to take action or even try to rebuke them further. Yeah, at that point, you've kind of done everything you can do to help. You've given them, kind of like what Color was saying, right? You also mentioned this earlier, Color, where you were talking about how you try to you're not a mod in my server, but you do a good job of being like, hey, you probably shouldn't be behaving in this way. It's probably not a good idea. Like, you're like trying to nudge them, be like, hey, knock it off before you get in trouble.
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Hit them with a hockey stick.
Exactly. Let's see. But yeah, so I think that's the right approach to take, Simple Authority, is to try to give them the tools, and then if they dig their own grave, they dig their own grave. But you've done essentially your duty as a watcher and participant in that community. Okay, I gotta go. Bye,
Exactly.
Wilrun. Thank you so much for your comments, by the way. I did really appreciate them.
Yeah, you better be following.
Yeah. Speaking of which, because I did read this and then I forgot to mention it, Will Run for Fun was talking about another way that they would ban people, or they've timed people out, starting because they've messaged them as a viewer, trying to get them to say things to the streamer. Has anybody else had that before? Like, say this to them, tell them this. Has that happened to you, Paranor?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, all the time.
Chris, did you just shout yourself out?
I did. Pause. But yeah, it's like trying to. You basically tell them to piss off, and if they do it again, they'll be banned. And I've banned probably at least 5 people because of that. Right, because it's they think they deserve something. I'm not your tool.
Yeah, I think the entitlement there is the kicker. You go into a stream, you deserve nothing.
Exactly, a good time.
That's
what you deserve. A good time, a pleasant, good time for you. That's why you pick streamers as well. I don't care. You know what? I don't care what game you're playing or Pixel or whoever. I'm here for you because you're a good streamer. Pixel is a good streamer. You're good entertainers in that way. And I agree with how you do things, right? Very differently, of course. But, you know, you can't be a grown-up if you can't be child sometimes. My favorite Doctor Who.
I've had people say things to me to say to you before. I say no and block them. No way, Matt. Nice. Chris said, I legit did that to Boz, trying to get Boz to call Sting in a chair while he was on 240p. A dancing.
I thought he was the BE guy.
Yeah. The chat rule here is basically my personal code. Don't be an ass. Don't be an idiot. Unfortunately, most people don't follow it, at least some people I've met. And that goes along the lines, though, of, like, being weird, but just crossing the line, and sometimes that line is a little bit different with people.
You know, I have a great example. I banned some. Did I ban them? No, they left. But I would have banned them if they progressed. They said shit or something. I can't remember. Could have been something else. But I deleted it. Said fam friendly. And they said, what? Out in the live chat as well? So my response was, or out in the chat as well, I said, for the whole channel, got a problem. Never heard from him again, thankfully. But yeah, that one would have been bannable very, very.
Yeah. Daisy.
But the entitlement to that, holy.
Yeah. Well, and also most of the family-friendly streams are tagged family-friendly, and they will say in their chat rules that they are family-friendly, or at least, hey, try to keep the swears down, or so on and so forth. Or I have in my rules, hey, this is like a general 18+ mature-ish stream, so expect that level of content. Hey, Murray.
And a lot of dong jokes.
A lot of dog jokes. Daisy, you brought up a really good point. I got warned in a good way in Nico's the other day. I said we were being hoes because we raided Nico and you came over. And Ma just said, hey, family friendly. I said, shoot, I didn't see the chat warning. I'll do better. And they thanked you. And that's like you said, Symbol of 30. That's a great interaction, right? Because Daisy, you're not crazy in a sense, right? So you're like, oh, I'm sorry. And sometimes I always forget to remind people that there are family-friendly streams. So that's on me as well. But yeah, if you go into a family-friendly stream and you accidentally say something that's inappropriate, as long as it's not too inappropriate, most mods will be like, hey, family-friendly stream. Don't just flat out ban someone because they come into a family-friendly stream for the first time and like say damn or something like that. If they're like walking to my stream and they're like, suck my massive penis, then probably ban.
And regulars will forget as well, right? They would have just come in from work or school or whatever, and so they haven't adjusted themselves yet to their surroundings. So, and it's like, no worry, you remind them because you don't treat a regular any differently than a newcomer. But you also say, no worries, just a reminder, family friendly, and you give them that comfort of their familiarity of being there.
Exactly. Like for instance, Boz and I were in voice chat when we were doing the spawn fair, and I have tried
Patty.
So hard, also hi Patty, to be family friendly in Boz's channel. And so I was on voice chat with him, and one of the first things that came out of my mouth, I just said shit, and then I immediately was like, oh no, and I felt so bad. Oh goodness, I try so hard. I've been doing really well with it. But yeah, I felt horrible. And I was like, I am so sorry. And like Boz and I have that relationship where he was like, oh yeah, this is Dish. But
she's like that. She says worse.
This was light. But it's about building the relationships.
Dish light.
Dish light. Oh goodness. Let me think here. None of the people I moderate for are family friendly. I feel like non-family friendly streamers are harder to moderate for rather than easy.
Harder? Sorry, you cut out there.
I feel like they're harder to moderate for.
Streamers are harder.
Yeah. Exactly, Monostache.
I have to disagree, actually. I think they're equally difficult because if you're being a good mod, you're keeping to the rules. And that's it, right? So a family friendly, just a certain rule set applied. Whereas, like your channel is not family friendly. enjoyably so, right? But you said right at the start that there is a rule set even in there.
Mm-hmm.
There are lines that don't get crossed, and if you bounce off a wall, we'll try to pick you up and dust off your feet. If you continue to squabble on the ground like a child, you're banged.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I should grab the monkey, but no.
Veronica says the line isn't as clear, and that's what I think as well, right? Is because I allow swearing, but I don't allow excessive swearing. Now, where is that line? And that's, I feel like, when you're moderating, just kind of look for the streamer to be giving cues. I feel like, would that be appropriate?
Exactly. Like I said, you have to read, you have to listen to the streamer. And after a while, certain things will be pattern, right? Those words that you don't do an excessive amount. You get a sense of where those limits are.
Mm-hmm.
In general, you will have your off days, just like any streamer, and get irritated a little easier. So you have to still constantly listen. But that's how you learn, how you initially learn in being helpful before you're a mom, because you read, you learn it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. RO2 says, I remember banning my first person in my stream. At the moment of banning them, they weren't doing anything wrong. However, they'd been acting questionable for 2 weeks. My inexperience as a streamer caused me to ban them so late. Then after I'd banned them, they private messaged me. They were pleading to be unbanned and saying things like, you hate me, don't you? I politely explained myself and they continued to try and be unbanned. Then I blocked them. And that, I think, is a constant struggle for growing streamers, right? The first time you stream, you have no idea what kind of streamer you want to be. You have no idea. You have no idea. Like, you might start out thinking you're going to end up streaming one way and then completely change into something else that you just feel is more comfortable for you.
Exactly. And I want to add something to that. You not only have no idea what you want to be as a streamer, but as the audience, even as a mod, you really have no idea as to what sort of audience you want, because you will experience you think some things are bad in some Twitch chats. You haven't experienced everything, and there will be worse.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I spent over 7 hours rendering a video to upload to YouTube because I had 5 seconds out of it, because I had a pedo troll on my screen.
Mm-hmm.
So I've made adjustments since. So it's always somebody that follows. And I go to the recent events, and if it's appropriate, I read it off.
Mm-hmm.
Change my encoding settings so I'm recording in what my Vegas Pro can use instead of the damn FLV, because it's an older version. 7 hours. Should have taken less.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still annoyed, can you tell?
Yeah. I feel ya. I mean, that's how I have that button where I turn everything off. All the alerts, everything. And that way, I remember we were streaming for all of maybe 10 minutes on yesterday.
Yeah, the robot came in.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was yesterday.
Oh, yesterday.
Yeah, Poison was there,
Another
fortunately.
one, oh yeah.
And it was a lot of the N-word kind of names. And so it was one, and like you will get at least one N-word troll a week at the very minimum. And so we banned, and then we're like, okay, that's fine. But sometimes they remake accounts, or they have alternate accounts, and they will continue to follow on those alternate accounts. And at that point, that's when you shut off the alerts, because they are either recording, and they want some kind of reaction. They want to see all of these like racial slurs.
Soundbite.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And so that's when just shut everything down and be like, okay, I'm turning off all my alerts, gonna turn off these things too. And then I apologized to everybody, and I said, hey, if you're gonna be following and I don't see it right away, I just have things turned off for the time being. And most of the time, people are very understanding about that.
Because most people do want the safe space, regardless of family friendly or not. The the culture. They want that culture. That's why they're here, wherever they are, because they like something about it and they want it to stay that way and not this extra toxic crap thrown in at you, right? It's like when the Jehovah's Witnesses arrive at your door.
Exactly. Murray, thank you so much for that, host.
Yeah. That reminds me, I need to put a hotkey on.
And for those of you, this is a really quick way I do it. And this is going to be messy because my study group stream layout on Streamlabs is really messy, so apologize ahead of time. But in Streamlabs, and we're going to bring this over here. Sorry, Paranor, I'm covering your face. I have these little folders that you can make. So you can add a group here. And I know this is backwards, but it's a little picture. And then you can make little folders. So you have, you can put all of your kind of alerts and events and things that announce new followers in one of these boxes. So if you ever want to turn everything off at the same time, all you need to do is hit that eyeball and it all goes away in one go. Oh yeah, I forgot. I have old overlays in here. But yeah, so that's
OBS, pretty much the same thing. We don't have the folder thing. I use OBS, not Slob. So
okay. Bass, thank you so much for that follow as well. But yeah, Simple Authority, it does vary every other week. I want to try to get, I know I was talking to Jason, or Chris was talking to Jason Sipe, and then I think Bohemian Breads about doing a cooking streamer study group. So that might be happening in the future as well. But I try to do at least streamer chats every other week, so things particularly about Twitch. But for instance, last week we learned about color and aesthetic, and we've done D&D streams and miniature streams and fun stuff like that. So let's see. I'm new to watching streams. Recently got the best advice as a watcher I could. Ignore them and don't give them attention. It's super helpful. Yes. Yes, just like real bullies.
Yeah, sometimes though, you have to poke some of them with a stick because you're just sure. Right, and there's a game of cat and mouse. But your instincts are saying one, yeah, or something. So as a moderator, don't worry about fish slap.
Cooking study group, yeah, Monostache. Yeah, talk to Graham, see if he wants to be on one. But for instance, I know when I am in other people's streams, I will do things that, for instance, people like to come in and say things that are very gender stereotypical about girls. For instance, did that happen today?
That was today. That was just before study group.
Oh, well, there was another time where somebody...
Hello, babe.
Well, that's always going to happen. There was somebody who came in and said, made a comment about Chris was laying on the floor being dramatic. And I was up here like, it's okay. And they were like, oh, I see, like, someone's the boyfriend, someone's the girlfriend in this instance. And I was like, what? Are you just saying the girls are the ones that lay on the ground? Or someone came in and was like, oh, he was crying like a little girl. And I was like, are you saying men don't cry? And that is just one of those random things where it's not really a moderation rule, but I like to push him a little. I'm gonna push him a little bit.
Well, you got to get the context, right? That's what you're doing, right? Like what I saw, and I may have missed something. Like I said, nobody's beyond rebuke, even me. But I saw a comment about high pitch. So I took the context from that because I'm quite sure it was from the same person. But you know, so many things you tend to things kind of blur together sometimes. But yeah, well, I hate sexist people. Yeah, the misogynist shouldn't just be thrown out a window. I don't really believe that. Don't do that. But I have no tolerance for those assholes. Because that's all they are.
And sometimes the people who make these kind of comments, they aren't sexist. They just don't know. And so that's why I'm not like, how dare you say that about women? It's more like, do all girls do that? Are they really?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I'm not defending anything. I'm 50 years old. There's a lot of things which I've had to double think about just because of the era that I come from, right? The 70s, the 80s. you guys know, most of you know that more so. That's when you were affected by, you picked up little idioms and vernaculars that you use in the culture. So it's part of that generation gap, just because sometimes things will come out in an automatic thing because you're used to doing it, and no ill will or anything meant towards it. I always like to be called on them because I need to learn if I haven't thought about it already.
And that goes for more.
And that's the same chance you give your whole. Sorry.
Oh yeah, lead with, like you said before, lead with education. And then, Color, you were talking about how somebody kept arguing with it afterward. It wasn't the same person who made the comment, but it was somebody else arguing with it, and they kind of picked up the gauntlet and escalated it a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's when it's like, okay, this is no longer about it. This is no longer about education and having an intellectual discussion. This is about proving someone right, and it's just wasn't going to go anywhere.
It's about feels. It's about ego. That's it. It's all about dick wagging.
Let's see. RO2 said, I personally like being in... Oh, where'd it go? I just had it. This is why I need to highlight things. I personally like being in non-family friendly streams, since there I can joke around without having to worry too much about whether it's appropriate or not. And that's true. I feel like even though in non-family friendly streams, there's still going to be those lines drawn. Chris has a much higher tolerance than I do for topics.
When he notices. Topics, yes. I thought you were talking about just irritants, not topics, but yeah.
Just some topics.
See, I jumped the gun.
And that's even same with Boz, right? I don't enjoy talking about politics in my channels at all. And somebody was discussing politics in Boz's channel one time, and I'm like, hey, no politics here. And Boz is like, we can talk about politics. And I was like, all right, sounds good.
Yep. And it address it. If you have, as a streamer, that was great addressing it, because it was a rule set in public, not a rule action, like a timeout and your reason for timing out, but it was stating the policy. So streamer, be right on it. And usually it's, as you described, is you're used to something and you just didn't think.
That was 100% what I
did. Yeah. I mean, you learn to adjust the character of your moderation, eventually, but some days you just need.
Well, could you repeat that? You cut off right at the end there.
Oh, sorry. Some days you just need more coffee.
Oh.
Everybody's human, right? So everybody's going to screw up from time to time.
Color says, education is so important. I work for an older man, 83 years old, and he said some things and people were tearing him up about it. I'm like, he's 83. He grew up with this being okay. Someone should maybe explain to him that it came off badly, but I doubt he meant anything by it. And yes.
If they change after that or are cognitive, then you got to give them all the kudos, because they're working at it. They're trying. Eventually they'll do.
For instance,
right.
Yes. For instance, my grandfather and Chris's grandfather are in two different hospitals right now. But both of them are essentially, there are now these rules, where as older men, they have a tendency to say inappropriate things to the nurses that at one point they were raised to think were acceptable, but are no longer acceptable. And Chris's grandfather had to be slapped on the wrist. I'm pretty sure my grandfather's also had to be slapped on the wrist, but they've actually taken some of these older men and had to put them in solitary, so to speak, because they were being inappropriate with the nurses. Because they were very, very old.
In an aggressive way.
Either in an aggressive way, in a verbal way, and in a way where they're making comments toward the nurses that now are just really no longer acceptable. Clink it! Wait, was that Clink it? Is Clink it in here? Or are we just shouting out Clink it? Let me see. Anything else? There's Cat Lad. calling in versus calling out. Bring someone into the conversation who may not be willfully ignorant, and educate. That's a really great way of putting it, Cat Lad.
That is. I will try to remember that to steal it.
Oh, that's the Pikachu emote. That's what Klinka was. I thought you were telling me Klinka was here. I got very disrupted. I was really excited. My granddad grew up in Mussolini-led Italy, so he might have some questionable views. Yeah, you're not wrong. Sephora says, repeat the misogyny thing one time and picks a stream. Paranor had stepped away for a moment, so when someone's message had a curse in it, it didn't get deleted immediately, so I politely mentioned them and reminded them to be family friendly, and they messaged me saying something along the lines of, oh, don't be such a, whoa, really?
You did not message me about that, I think.
No, they messaged
Please
the person.
Do if it happens again. Yes, but Sephora did not message me about it.
Oh.
So if something like that happens again, where they private message attack, basically, message a mod. And that is a bannable offense because they really are nobody's friend.
Yeah.
It takes the community to police the community. We're not all used to using our voices in that manner.
Milkshake says, I was there that day and we asked Paranor to never leave again.
You may have messaged me. I don't recall. My brain pulls out that I didn't. Ban them personally, yeah.
Let's see. What should we do for people who are looking to become a mod in someone's channel, but
don't mod them? No, seriously, I'm being dead serious. If anybody requests, usually don't mod them. However, if it is a valid inquiry out of ignorance, be open to it, but tell them mods usually get invited. People who request never get them. If you're interested in helping out, do these things, listen, act like a moderator, basically. And you might get invited. You don't necessarily give it blatant to them because you want to. That's a key thing.
Did you say you wanted them to work for it?
In a way, they have to show that they can learn, that they can adjust, that they can be the mod that you need, that a mod good at the skill. If they show that they are there for the all rather than just themselves, taking into account they are still audience member. But it proofs in the pudding, just like you do 8-bit server, right? Let's get to know you a little bit, and there's still some that slide through. Mods is a much longer process.
And there are some people who will go around Twitch and expect to be modded in other people's chats because they mod in other chats. And they think...
Yeah.
And so you could be a moderator in 100 chats and be the best mod on the planet for them, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be the best mod for me. And so also keep that in mind.
Terrible mod just for that, I will say.
Exactly. But and that's going along the lines of I've had people approach me before where they're like, oh yeah, I moderate in all these other streams. If you need a mod, let me know. And I'm like, I don't care if you're a mod in all of these other streams, unless I see you being a great mod. Like that's kind of like a resume in a way, but it doesn't mean that it's guaranteed that you're going to be a mod here.
Well, exactly. I mean, I've mentioned that before for association, and to also give them an all clear, right? It's not saying I don't put it in a way where it should be misconstrued, where I'm saying this as an argument to authority, give me some more authority.
And also, if you are really, really, really interested in being someone's moderator and someone else gets mod and you don't, just be patient about it. 99.99999% of the time, if you are a really awesome candidate for a moderator, you will become a mod eventually.
Exactly.
And then maybe it just wasn't the right time, or this person, they weren't picked over you because you're not as good as them. So don't
It's
take
time in.
Yeah. It just happened to be who would, like, I've modded people before where I'm like, hey, you guys are here literally all the time. Why don't you be a mod if you want to be a mod? and then I'm like, sweet, cool.
You did that with me.
Yeah. And I was like, I need a moderator. I've been noticing some gaps in the schedule where maybe we didn't have a moderator and you usually are here during those gaps. Would you like to do this? Blah, blah, blah. And so it's not always like a super heavily thought out process. I know who's going to be a great mod and who's going to be a bad mod from probably the 10th message you send in my channel.
Right. Well, I mean, in my case, you know, I had a good resume as well because you enjoy pixel riffs, and you know, so that helped in my case. But yeah, it's not always. It can be a quick, but generally, like you said, you know, you had gaps to fill, and that was definitely how Pixel Riffs made me a mod.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he knew I did mod before, I think, but I never requested.
Mm-hmm. And then Chris pointed this out as well. I think perceived maturity has a huge pull on who people add as mods. Chris added Ben and Ash as a mod because he was like, you are adults. And that is why you are modded. Poison! And that was, Poison was there as well. He knows Poison is an adult and will make more mature decisions that are less based in emotion than not.
Now, wait a minute. Don't insult Poison by calling him an adult, please.
You're right. I'm sorry, Poison.
Yeah, no, you're right. Look, age is a number, and maturity is where it's all about. And it goes back to your own ego. You know, if you keep making it about you, then you're immature.
Mm-hmm. And this goes where I've actually had mods before who were younger, and I was like, that's fine. They're here all the time. They're active. They know what they're talking about, and I've modded them. But then I've started to see the immaturity come through, and then I've actually had to have a conversation with them, be like, hey, I don't think this is going to be working out, that kind of stuff. So it's also understand that if you are approaching a stream from a more mature angle, you can get silly. But if you're, as a moderator, and you're making a streamer feel uncomfortable and feel like they need to mod you as a moderator, then you should probably take a step back, look at your behavior, and say, is this productive for this stream?
No. Always no.
Let's see.
I mean, the thing is though, I will say this on that sort of thing. If a moderator comes to me as a streamer questioning behavior, not in a nasty or judgmental way, but just, you know, what's going on here, I would have thought you would have reacted this way with this. If it's something that you think is out of character, I think it's good for a mod to approach the streamer. Because there's, as always, context matters, and there's probably something bigger going on, in which cycles right back to the communication thing. Mods, I don't necessarily think it's a fine line as to what you personal life, but your schedule definitely.
Exactly. I'm gonna read off a couple of these things. What are your expectations you have of your current moderators that I asked in this form? And I think this is interesting. If you don't, I'm gonna read this one out.
Hang on. I missed what you said. You cut out.
Oh, it's okay. The question was, what are some expectations you have of your current moderators? And this person said, I think Twitch gave the mods the wrong icon. I think they should be a shield. They are not only there to protect the streamer, but also the community, like a tank in an MMO, taking aggro and the hits as necessary, not just from trolls. They are or should be the first one to notice when someone is acting in an undesirable manner in the chat and take action. And sometimes they do need to be the bad guys and be the one chat gets mad at in order to do what is necessary for their streamer to continue to stream in their preferred manner, i.e. mod telling individual who's regular to cool it, or even timing out when person is demanding complete attention from a streamer who's trying to talk to other people. That's a very good point, right? Sometimes you do need to be the bad guy, and that's one of those questions like, would you rather be liked or respected thing? You want
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to recognize and bring out you really do sometimes, and especially one guy that got banned from your channel, he was a sub, gifted or not, I don't know, but they had the hoe. And they got banned. Right. With this, I mean, they're all good points. You're right. A shield, I think, would be a more appropriate icon. This is Twitch after all, you know. So it will hopefully shortly change or mold a little differently. But going back to that misogyny thing, the sword, very phallic. Your job to the streamer is basically to allow them to breathe, to not have to worry about chat, to be able to engage freely. And that trust is there or given to allow that to happen. So it makes for a better stream. You are their proxy, you are their in general voice. If you're wrong, you adjust. If you're right, you don't gloat, we move on and have fun. So, you know, some things may have to be discussed afterwards, but communication first, you know, like everything we talked about. And respect.
Yeah. Respect. Poison says, if I need to be serious, I will be. Otherwise, I wouldn't say I'm too much of a hard ass if I can help it. Yeah. Color says, and so they...
Well, that's how...
Go ahead.
Oh, so I was just going to say, that's how I am. I'm always serious, even in my humor. Gotta have the humor.
I feel like if you're a moderator, if you're always gonna be a hard ass and not kind of play around, it's really gonna detract from, because you also want to be building relationships with the community, and I feel like it's really going to be very, very difficult to build relationships with the community if you go from being a fun community member to someone who is deadpan serious at all times. If you can't bring those two together, this can be very, very difficult for people in chat to even want to come back to that chat. I've had moderators who I really didn't like how they moderated a chat push me away from that chat.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody is a potential customer, as it were. Every viewer is part of the system. You want to build the community, not for, if you're, in my opinion, a good streamer, you know, the coin is nice, but it's the people, it's the culture, and the coin will come with if that's a priority of yours. But you're doing it for a reason. They're here for a reason. It's that engagement. Two-way street. So yeah, you don't want to scare people away, but you don't want to give the wrong impression. And if a mod is giving you the wrong impression because they are your representative and the two don't sync up, even as a viewer.
And that's what I think a discussion with your own moderators is important to have when you're noticing discomfort in your chat, to kind of bring it up to them, be like, hey, I noticed this mood has been kind of being pushed in the channel, and I would like us to avoid that and say, okay, I don't mean this to be rude, but I mean this to be constructive. This is the kind of stuff I would rather we go along with versus this direction. Or maybe, hey, that joke went a little too far. could we try to rein that in or something here? It's all about like guiding and a little bit of molding.
Herding cats.
Herding, exactly. And Ebron Guy, I think it might just be the university computer. Let's see.
No, I was leaning back a little.
Oh, okay. Let's see. And then there's something that I kind of want to talk about, and I've always been kind of curious to see what everybody, just across Twitch, and the chat, this goes out to you, and just things you've seen. You don't need to be necessarily things you've done. How do you show your moderators your appreciation? Because moderators are volunteers. We cannot pay them, or like they're not paid to be there. They're here out of their own will. So how does everybody show their appreciation to their mods? How have people seen it done across Twitch? I'm always interested in kind of expanding that.
I've seen, before we get some stuff in the chat there, I've seen a streamer every once in a while, say, give appreciation. That's always great. But when events happen, there are usually those same people who try to help, giving the nod for everybody else to participate in keeping things within the bubble, the confines of the culture. So taking care of everybody.
Okay.
I don't fuck them.
I know, right, Poison? Let's see.
You naughty boy.
Mods can severely save a streamer too. And you're right, though. Mods make a chat. 100%. Like, I go to a streamer because of their content, but I want to be able to participate in their channel. And sometimes that's hard if you're feeling shut down right away.
Yeah.
Des says, showing mods some love. I try to be friendlier to them, pay attention to what they say in their personal side of stuff, cheer them on, etc. So kind of give them first round at opinions kind of deal. I try to thank the streamer and mods at the end of the stream. Oh, that's a good idea, Veronica.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. That's cute. I want to do that. I haven't had a chance to yet. I do like to DM people and thank them. Okay. Even just acknowledging effort, I feel, goes a long way. Yeah, and I try to do that too.
And it doesn't take much, right? A smile can turn a whole day around.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically what it is. An acknowledgement and a slight bow in Japan.
I tried to do, for instance, I think when Poison was there that one day, we had a giant troll bomb, I don't know, like a couple months back. And Poison was there like, psh, 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 psh. And at one point I was like, okay, everybody, thank Poison. And so I tried to get everybody to thank Poison more than just me, and kind of like led the charge on that as well. Let's see. How do I deal with crippling depression? Flav, see a therapist. Cat Ponicorn, my mod is my husband, so he can get appreciation later.
Oh, I like it.
Cat and Des are an item. Let's see. My arm's mouse has never been the same. Poor mouse and left clicker. Rip Poise mouse.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and use that report button, people.
Oh, yes, report. Report is good. At least from
because Twitch can actually ban their IP.
Yeah. Like for Riri's channel, for instance, like I'm a moderator in Riri's channel because I've been in there a couple times, just either lurking or just hanging out, but obviously I'm not in there all the time. And so if you so like Riri's just like, thanks. Or as I usually say, if you're a growing streamer, and like RO2, you said you don't have any mods right now, and you see one of your, like if I'm ever in your chat and there's somebody kind of giving you guff or something, you're more than welcome to, if you don't want to deal with that person, you can temp mod me at all. Like, you can temp mod me for an hour just because that person is annoying you and you need help. I will not get offended if you unmod me. But if you ever need help and I'm in your channel, like I always say, you're more than welcome to temporary mod me if you just need someone to kind of fence off these trolleys because you need help.
This here, folks, Dish just broke the first rule about mods.
Well,
Never mod somebody who requests.
And I'm not requesting to mod. I'm saying if you need help, and I'm pretty sure I could do this to anybody in my chat, right? If I'm like, hey, I just need a temp mod real quick. Would you mind helping me fence this person off? I'm just saying, don't feel free to ask people for temporary help. That's what I was trying to get to with that statement, is if you do need just quick help from someone, I guarantee you, if there's somebody who's super active in your channel, or a streamer that you watch a lot is in there and really active, and you're like, hey, would you mind helping me with this? I guarantee you every time they will always be like, yes, I will, just absolutely.
Brothers in arms at that point, basically. A job needs doing. They understand what, the situation, and most people will say, I wish I had somebody like that in my.
I know this is about Twitch, but we express our appreciation often to all the work they do. Just in general, if anybody ever helps you, say thank you. Monastash says, yeah, I had never thought to temp mod people. I definitely needed to do that once when I got hit with a ton of bots. The bots are the hardest, and that's when I'll be like, hey, everybody, let's all go report this person together, and then it's like a giant group thing.
Yep. Still gotta remember to put that hotkey on.
Oh yeah.
It's important. I gotta keep it in there. It may fly away like a little bird.
Yeah, but yeah, don't ever go up to someone and be like, can I mod? No. I always ask. I think that was a nice way, RO2, that you said that's Vella's a mod in my chat once she offered to help deal with someone. That's a respectful way to do it. Would you like some help here? Would you like some help in this situation? And if you don't feel comfortable saying that in chat, or you don't want to put the streamer on the spot, yeah, I mean, you can send them a very respectful DM if you're know that person very well. Just be like, would you like some help with this? And I know I would appreciate something like that rather than saying, mod me and I'll deal with this person. So yeah. Monastash asks, do you have to deal with bots often? It only happened to me the one time, and I'm pretty sure it was a combination of us doing Trevor Project, fundraising, and having the LGBTQ tag on the stream. I was totally taken by surprise when it happened.
Yeah, I luckily have a bot attack here. Back in the days of IRC, had to deal with them all the time. It didn't have all the bells and whistles that you do today, but as a streamer, you shut them down that way, and as a mod, you do your best. You make a list, and you take names and shoot them all down as quick as you can. But yeah, it's the same tactic no matter what.
I think I've been botted twice.
I'll probably get botted now. Sorry. Yeah.
And one of
I know about one that I missed.
Yeah, and one time I got raided, and that was the time I got raided by EO1, and everybody came in and was speaking Spanish. And at the time, it said I got raided by this person, so I immediately was like, I don't know if this is a bot right away. So I did some research so I clicked on I found the name, because the person was like, this person rated you. So I just quickly went into Twitch, because this is what having two monitors is really nice for, or at least some kind of connection to Twitch, is I just looked up their name and saw they were a partnered streamer and was like, okay, this isn't a bot. This is just a streamer coming from someplace that speaks a different language. And so I did my research before I was like, they're all bots, shut them down. And that was a language barrier kind of deal. But if you got the person who comes in and starts talking about doing whatnot with grandma, then yeah, that's a bot.
Wait, what with grandma? What was that?
Let's see. Can mods be bribed with coffee? I know Paranor can. We do learn from experience about moderation. Absolutely. And that's what Ninja Evan was talking about earlier, or was it RO2? Somebody brought up the fact that they had maybe it was RO2, right? You didn't really know what kind of streamer you wanted to be. You didn't know what kind of moderation you wanted or what your comfort levels could be pushed to. And then you learn as you go. Like everybody when they're a growing streamer probably deals with trolls a lot more patiently than when you have more experience, I would say.
Sometimes both, because there's some streamers who play with, depends on the troll, of course. But yeah, hard-nosed troll is just there to come away. But trolls, some streamers like playing with, and that can have good and bad, and then just, there's a limit. But so soft, hard, it's always dynamic.
Cat.
My brain kind of went like that.
And that's an excellent point, right? Like everybody deals with trolls differently, and that goes back to the difference between Boz, myself, and Chris. Right? We all deal with trolls differently. We all have different ideas of what a troll is, and then how we respond to them. We all respond differently. I'm a very patient person, and I think. I think actually Boz was a part of a streamer chat a long time ago when we discussed this, talking about when you do just get started streaming and if you haven't spent a lot of time on Twitch, not understanding when a troll is trolling you yet is also common. Yeah.
Yeah, it's if you're, I hate to say use the word clueless, but that's, you're extremely ignorant and naive. You're probably going to run, right? If you don't experience, like it took me 6 months to get back into streaming. It was also, there wasn't fully, but there was definitely consideration of the environment Twitch and streaming is these days. So yeah, you gotta know what you're jumping into. No surprises. There always will be surprises, yes. But prepare yourself as best you can.
There was someone who came into my chat and kept making puns about electricity. And I was like, sweet, this person is hilarious. I get it. Like, yeah, you're funny. You're trolling. And then at the end, they got bored of trying to do electric puns. And they were like, so you want a bone? And I was like, I thought we were going to be friends.
Oh, my.
And that was like a month ago. So I've been streaming for a long time, but I still am like, okay, that's surprising. But also not surprising.
Everybody's got a new idea of how, And because that's really a classic.
Yeah, I appreciate people who try to troll in new ways. Versus the people who would come in and are just like, show me your bobs. or you're a lady. Skin. And I'm like, come on. At least be a tasteful troll, right?
Well, come on. It's just, where is it now? 2019, right? We deserve better trolls. You're from kindergarten. Get with the picture.
MGS went, I guess you could say there was a spark. Monastache was not a bone pun, unfortunately. Freya, you're lucky. We know you. Bob's and vagina.
Freya, you're vegan? I didn't know that.
Let's see. Welcome back, Vela. Oh, I don't know how to feel. Well, you did it. Now you just need to be super anxious about it until you hear back. Because that's going to happen regardless. Ash asks a very good question. How do you want your mods to decide when to time out versus ban?
That is a good question. General annoyance is timeout. those hard lines of is not acceptable is banned. But then again, you always have the gray where somebody push it and you're not quite sure their intent, and that's where you have to poke them with stick. You know, just see how they react.
Do something.
And then they'll and then they'll make a decision, you know, based upon that, and usually will tell you what they're all about. They give themselves away. They eventually.
I usually say also though, if it's been someone who's been in your chat for a long time and they're misbehaving, I start with the timeout as well. Especially for those, because sometimes we had somebody come in who was getting upset at my reaction to a comment they had made, and they'd been in my chat for quite some time, and so we led with the timeout. And then they came back and they were still kind of upset, and they're like, I just need to, like, they were acknowledging the fact that they needed to walk away because they were upset. And so what we ended up doing was they were talking about how they needed just 20 minutes. And then somebody came in right away and we're like, okay, here's your 20-minute timeout. And then they came back and they were just fine. So I would say if they've been there for a really, really long time, start with the timeout. If they point blank cross the line like the person who just followed, then go for the ban. Monastesh says, yeah, unless...
Oh, yeah.
There it is.
I wasn't paying attention, sorry.
That's perfully fine.
Interesting username, yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
that's kind of unique.
It is. No, well, I mean, like dealing with mods who break their own pattern, regulars are a special case. So that's part of the context. You wouldn't, you know, there's a history there, so you have to challenge the history. You have to respect the history. So bringing yourself into that, hey, cutie, give us a kiss. Chris.
I can take my trend.
Hey, cutie, give us a kiss, will you?
You want to see dick? You want to see my dick?
Yeah, oh, yes. Show us your dick. But no, I mean, you have to respect the history because it's context. So, you know, they're just unacceptable. Ban or do that extended timeout, which is why typing can be a great thing, because like I timed out somebody for 100,000 seconds. So they wouldn't be back till next stream. Didn't give them what they wanted, but they accepted it because it was and then I adjusted the times later. So
I forgot I had these snacks under here, and I'm really excited about it.
Oh, snacks! Nice. I'm without snacks.
Finish them up. They're all little boys.
Okay.
But yeah, every special case, every classification, get their extension, their legacy. You have to verify the context. And like with yours, the 20-minute timeout way, they settled down, they thought about it, and they were fine.
There are some names. Okay, so
Those look
Ninja.
like onion rings.
They're Funyuns. I'm really excited about it.
Oh.
And I think Ninja brings up an excellent point. So if everybody goes down here, this will be an example. So Ramit here. So Ramit's on my screen right now. Their name is up here. When it comes to these levels of troll, what I'll usually do, like this person here made a joke that I would make. Like I would make a joke like that. 100%. There are quotes in my channel of that. And so I really don't mind too much of clearing it from the event list. If it was a racial slur, then that's hands down. If it's pedo, hands down, get it out of there. If you also notice that it's on some streamers ones, I know both Stenos and Sting have done this. Like donating 5 bits, like 3 times or 4 times, we'll get it right off. We'll clear it off. Or even hosting. Hosting is a really good way to help a streamer clear it off if they're maybe too busy or they didn't see the message or something like that. But that's another way to do it, to help clear it. And that's it's free. Hosting is also free. So it's also a nice way to kind of stick it to the troll, right? You're like, hey, not only am I gonna get your name off that thing, but I'm also going to help this streamer grow.
Exactly. Yeah, a counter protest, as it were. Yeah, well, that's why I had to edit 5 seconds out of video, because I upload to YouTube. And here's the other thing too: like people who upload to YouTube, streamers who upload to YouTube. That's another level you have to be considering about, because they will follow you just to see if because they'll know when they did what they did. So they might try to report you on YouTube as well, just for having it on the screen. You have to consider those things in what you do. In one way, I wish I didn't upload to YouTube, because I have to use copyright sound, public domain software and that sort. Exactly, Vela.
Oh my God, you guys are incredible.
But it's I'd love to have my best playlist.
Patty asks, what's the rule? Anything more than 2 numbers at the end, instantly watch that person? What? What's that rule, Patty?
I've got 3 numbers, just saying. And my finger didn't. There we go. Oh, maybe it did. Never mind. I'm lagged.
Please take some.
Okay, give me the bucket. Thank you.
Have one more?
No.
How do you need pieces?
Let's see.
It's all about the behavior. The name is a small part of anything.
Rain, did you say? Wait, are you being serious, Rain? Or were you joking? I'm not quite sure. Because we do it like Lady says. I don't know how to host. So what you can do is sometimes underneath the stream of the channel, by the title, there will be a purple button that you can click that says "Host this channel." Holy, all the hosts are coming in now. Or what you do is you go to your creator dashboard. And here, I can pull up. I think I can pull up on Twitch right now and kind of show everybody how I would do that. So
You can also do /host.
You can also do /host, which is super helpful.
Sorry.
Or what you can do is you can go here to this upper icon here, and you can go creator dashboard, and then you can go and type in your chat /host study group and hit enter, and that will host for you. So that is another way to do that. Or you can type /host in the chat.
In your chat, sorry, it's a /host and then the streamer, and you have to do it in your channel.
In your channel, yeah.
Dirty, yeah.
Mobile is a bit different, FYI, but it can still be done via mobile. Yeah, that's. What's the best way to do it via mobile? I suppose is a good question. Oh, and this Monostache, your song request thing goes back to what somebody else was saying. I think it was Will Run, where they brought up song requests, and then I just completely forgot about it. This is another reason why I have my song requests turned off, is that people will request songs with things you don't want on there. Racial slurs, curse words, lewd imagery that you may not particularly approve of, or artists you really don't like. So I don't even bother with song requests, specifically because I want to have the control, and I don't want to let some random troll come in and try to request a song. That could be bad.
I bless the rings down the
Oh, you host it on your phone. Okay. So is there a button you press, or do you go to your own creator dashboard on your phone? Monostache and Tabatai are down. No, they have somebody coming over.
Nope.
Oh, they don't. No, they don't. I don't know. Anyway, off topic. Sorry, everyone. Let's see. I think, that'll be a really good discussion for maybe next time, is what's better, auto host or manual host? Because manual host, you get a shout out
Both.
in the alerts, but auto host you do not.
Exactly. And that's why I said both. It depends on what you want. I mean, most streamers will give that shout out for the host because it's set up. So if you don't really care about that, auto host is a guaranteed possible expansion. I think use it if you want to, but if you're a regular, do the auto host, and it just kind of sends the love to the streamer, potential new viewers.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, about the mobile, go into your own chat and host on there. Also, there's a button you can press above the screen itself, which is an arrow, Rain was saying. When you click on the screen and you click that and go to the bottom, and it will say host. That is convenient. Oh.
I can't run the Twitch chat on my tablet, unfortunately. So I am very ignorant on mobile stuff.
I auto host because I'm usually at work when most of the channels I watch are online. That's smart. RO2 says, like, after a couple streams with one of my first viewers and chatting with them, I got to know them. One stream, she and I literally spent 3 hours on stream recommending songs to each other. And that's fine, too. If that's the mood you're in. Like, sometimes I'm in the mood to discover new music, but most of the time, no. Let's see. I see that now. Oh! But yes, does anybody have any last minute questions about Twitch moderations for either Paranor or myself? If not, let's get a bunch of shout outs out there for Paranor, please. Paranor is also a streamer. Paranor, do you want to talk a little bit about yourself as a streamer for just a hot minute?
I do Minecraft primarily. I'm doing a solo worlds, and it's a journey. Not family friendly, but not necessarily fully mature, but everything in between. Be respectful, don't be a dingus, and let's have fun and enjoy it.
I love it. I love it. Let's see.
And never enough coffee.
Never enough. Ninja, I have used a combination of Nightbot and Moobot, and then I transitioned to now using a combination of Stream Elements and Streamlabs Chatbot. Some people make their own. Every single one is different, and there are like a million YouTube videos out there that will actually walk you through which ones and how to moderate with each one. So it really depends on. I personally like Streamlabs Chatbot because I use Streamlabs, so they work really well together. But it's not for everyone.
No, like I said, I use OBS, and I manually set up everything. I'm old school. Like, it's what I like.
Mm-hmm. I'd say,
and the slob seems with the integration,
mm-hmm.
It takes a load off somebody who's not in the full technical train of something like this. I mean, I've done TV work, so
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I like OBS.
Mm-mm-mm. And then Villa says I don't recommend letting the bots do the mod job. I think you need a combination of humans and bots.
Agree.
Because sometimes there are just things that you don't even want your mods to waste their time on. They should just be automatically filtered out.
Yeah, exactly. It's your info.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions here? And then let's set up a raid here. Thank you, Paranor, again. It was a fantastic discussion. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom with us. Always a pleasure. Let's see who is online right now.
And hopefully I didn't scare anybody with.
Let's see. We've got Chicky on it. I never get to raid Chicky, so maybe we could try that one out. Let's see. We also got Cirky and Zareth. So nice to see your pretty face. I know, Paranor face reveal.
Exactly.
I would do 8 Moto, but I actually get to raid 8 Moto more often than I get to raid Chicky. Let's see. So I'm trying to spread out the love. Yeah. Okay, so.
I'm loving it.
Uh-oh, I lost my Streamlabs. Uh-oh, it fell. Okay, we're back. Oh god, and I lost Discord. There you are. Okay. Face reveal! But yeah, let's see. And anybody else, if you have any more questions or comments or things we missed that you want us to talk about in the future, you're more than welcome to send us or DM me or anything in Discord. Again, feel free to join our study group Discord or the 8-Bit community Discord, whatever really floats your boat on that regard. I've not followed Cheeky yet. Okay, so we'll go do a Cheeky raid here. Cheeky raid. And then what we like to do in study group is whenever we raid someone, we like to kind of trash talk them, but like tell them to study. So we're like, get learnt, son, or like, prepare to fun fact.
For science, for knowledge.
Is she ending right now? Prepare to fun fact. But yeah, so thank you again, Paranor. I'm gonna end our Discord call. You were awesome. Have a great rest of your evening, sir. Thank you. And then, oh my god, I totally just cut him off. Sorry, Paranor. And I will see you all tomorrow over on the gaming channel. So thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. YouAreTheBomb.com, and we will see you. We'll see you later. Don't rip me, Poison. Get out of here. All right, bye everyone. Bop, bop, beep. Look, this is the ending music. Dee bop ba doo bop bop ba doo bop bop ba da bop bop. Right now.
How are you doing? How you doing? Did you know study group party of 25? What is up? That's the real hot dish right there. I tell you what, she's hot. A ma'am. Can we get a shout out for the study group as well? Get learnt, son. Oh, I love it. Oh my goodness, Rain Geek. Thank you for the host. Bella, what? Hot dish. Man, can you guys hear my stomach? It's crazy.